We had a $58 million proposition pass. That hadn't happened in 43 years in Beaumont, Texas. That put substantial money into this community and impacts our infrastructure.
The process has worked, and I think we will be better for it. And I'm excited about the infrastructure projects and moving forward and moving this city forward.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to a special post-election edition of the Beaumont Beat video podcast, where we move with the heartbeat of the city. I'm your host, Tracy Kenneth. For the past several months, the city of Beaumont has been working to educate you, the voters, on several bond propositions and a venue tax that were on the ballot. Today, Beaumont City Manager Kenneth Williams and Mayor Roy West are joining me to talk about those election results. But before we get into all that, I have a quick announcement for you. A date has been set for this year's Christmas tree lighting. You want to check it out?
Get into the holiday spirit at the 8th Annual City of Beaumont Christmas Tree Lighting. Join us Wednesday, December 3rd at 5 p.m. at the Downtown Event Center Lake for an evening of festive music, dazzling drone shows, delicious food trucks, and holiday fun for the whole family. This free community event is proudly sponsored by HEB. Don't miss the magic. Visit beaumonttexas.gov for all the details.
We can't wait to see you on December 3rd. All right, let's get to today's conversation. Thank you both for being here. So the voters have spoken, and that's part of the process, right? There were 5 propositions on the ballot: a venue tax, Proposition A passed, and just Proposition A. Why do you think that is?
Well, Proposition A was the infrastructure, and clearly infrastructure is important to all of us. And, I am very excited Proposition A passed. Certainly the other propositions I felt like had real value, but I understood that the process we went through, according to how the citizens voted, they'd like to see something a little bit different. And I think since this was our first one in 43 years, we've learned a lot from that. I want us to learn. I want us to be better. I want Beaumont to continue to grow and thrive. So I believe as a council, we'll continue to learn from this and we'll respond. But the infrastructure is important.
Yeah, and B and C did get close throughout the night. I think there was within 200 votes that C almost passed as well. So we do know the infrastructure is paramount to what voters wanted to see, though, right?
Yeah, infrastructure is always important. It's the foundation of a city. That's what people see. That's what they interact with every day. They don't always get to experience the quality of life issues on a daily basis. But they do know when I ride down my street if there's a pothole there.
Right.
They do know if my water's leaking, if there's a water leak, et cetera. So infrastructure is what they experience every day. It's the basic. And in Beaumont, it's important, too, because we're susceptible to things like hurricane, which impacts drainage and flooding. So that's what people know, and that's what they experience. However, quite a lot of life issues are important, and it's that there's a time when there'll be a consensus that we need to go past infrastructure. Infrastructure is that basic, but what gets you to a quality city or keeps you as a quality city is getting those quality of life projects in there.
Right. Now, as we've mentioned many, many times, this is the first time in 43 years that Beaumont has seen a bond. What are some of the challenges that brings in trying to get voters on board?
Well, from my perspective, it's quite an education process to help people understand how the bond process works, and that, as they saw last night, it is their decision. And oftentimes I felt like there was a lot of participation at the end on social media, whereas this happened for months, and it began with the Citizens Advisory Committee that did a lot of work, as well as city staff and city council, lots of open meetings. So I think we can learn how to, in the future, do better with that to get more input up front. But I think oftentimes when you do things the first time, you tend to learn a lot. And when it hadn't been done in 43 years, that's for really a couple of generations. So it is like the first time for Beaumont. So I do feel like there are lots of takeaways. I know we'll still do more after action reports to, figure that out and dive into it, because we want to serve our residents as best we possibly can. So we're going to continue to learn from it.
Yeah. What about you, Mr. City Manager? What were some of the challenges that you saw through this process?
Well, I think the process, let me first say that I think the process accomplished what it was supposed to accomplish. The process was to include the voters and citizens of our community in deciding what they want to see and what projects they want to have in their city. And they decided that. You know, city council gets to make that decision every 2 weeks on what happens and what they want to do. City manager does it on a daily basis. It's not often that the citizens get to participate in the governance of their city. And this was an excellent governance process. So I think it accomplished exactly what it was supposed to do. It gives city council input and direction on what citizens want. That's what they wanted. They wanted input and direction. They now know that infrastructure is important to citizens. So, you know, we had a $58 million proposition pass. That hadn't happened in 43 years in Beaumont, Texas, $58 million for projects. So while it seems like things weren't accomplished, we got a proposition passed the first time in 43 years.
Right.
That puts substantial money into this community and impacts our infrastructure.
And because we're able to use those dollars now for infrastructure, that frees up some of the money that the city has to spend in other areas, correct?
Exactly, because some of these projects were listed in our capital improvement program, but you have to identify how you're going to fund them. Mm-hmm. So otherwise, we would have had to wait until we had the money in the budget to get something done. Now this will expedite those projects being done. You know, there are 10 streets on there that's going to get fixed much quicker than waiting 10 years to get those streets fixed. Mm-hmm. You're going to have the drainage on West Lucas, the storm sewers repaired that really need fixing now. You're going to have streets fixed on East Lucas that's been in bad shape for years that's going to be done. So this while people think it's bad, this is a win for the city of Beaumont.
Sure.
We usually, first city I was at, the first bond election we had, it did not pass. We came back 2 years later, and they all passed because city council got that input, found out what was important, came back and structured that bond election according to what they thought the citizens of that town
So let's
would
talk
do.
about that, because we had all along been letting people know that these projects, if they didn't pass, we couldn't take out debt for them again for 3 years. But we can do another bond election with different projects. Is that correct?
Yes, you just can't do those particular projects for 3 years on a bond election. You can hold bond elections based upon other projects, things that were not on this ballot. So city has the ability to do that next year or in 2 years or 3 years or whatever it may be. So that option's certainly there if other things are identified that need to be done.
And through this process, as you mentioned, then that would put us maybe ahead of the game, because I think a lot of this was educating, as we mentioned, the citizens on what a bond election is. And we were looking back, we did almost 40 videos, and we had multiple graphics and things that went out to kind of educate, and hopefully people were educated on how it all works. But then going forward, as you mentioned, maybe we learned something from the citizens as well on what they wanted to see in the next bond election, should that come. So what do you think some of those takeaways will be? Should we have another one in a couple of years?
Well, the day after this election, I think it's a little bit too early to start talking about it. We certainly need to continue to learn from what this election meant. And, you know, we're out in the community at neighborhood association meetings. We have council meetings. And I know these are things that I want to hear from people because I want to continue to learn. So, it'll be a work in progress. And I think today would be a little bit too early to talk about when the next one is.
Give us a little bit of time.
But I certainly agree that I think there will be future bonds in the future for Beaumont, and I think we have learned something, and I think there is more for us to learn from the takeaway. And as our city manager said, we got a $58 million bond passed that we didn't have before, right? That is outstanding for Beaumont.
Mm-hmm. Okay, one of the things that has been a bit surprising to me is hearing the level of mistrust or distrust for the government. And there was, of course, there's been no time that I've been able to find at all in the history of the city of Beaumont where there was a city employee who misused funds of the city funds. So where do you think that mistrust comes from? Is it a national mistrust of government everywhere? Is it because of different entities that they try to associate with the city of Beaumont? Where's that come from?
Well, there are several things that contribute to that. Of course, some of the things that happened in Beaumont in the past for sure makes people skeptical and trust in government.
And when you say that, what do you mean, the city of Beaumont?
Well, I'm just saying there's some things with bond elections with other entities,
Okay.
not so much
Not the city of Beaumont.
Not the city of Beaumont. I know of no documented situation where Beaumont had a problem with the bond, dollars, etc. But Tracy, I just don't think it's Beaumont. I think it's our state of Texas and country in general that there is a mistrust for government now. You know, as I looked around the state last night as election things were coming in, Beaumont wasn't the only one
Right.
that these type propositions didn't pass.
Yeah, I saw the same.
Yeah, as we were monitoring that, it seems to be that things that pertain to some of the stuff we were talking about in dollars didn't fare well. So there's this general feeling around the state of Texas for sure that things like venue, and of course some of us do the state legislature, now they make you put the word tax increase in your bond language, and then that sets off a red flag with people. So things like that. I think some of the things that's happened with the state legislature, some things that the general feeling around the country and state, but also there are some things in Beaumont, but that contribute to it.
Yeah, and the ones that did pass were the constitutional amendments, those types of things that don't raise your tax dollars.
Right.
Yeah, and you mentioned the venue tax. A lot of people were surprised that one didn't pass because it wouldn't be a tax increase, but it had the word tax in it, right? So do you think there was some kind of disconnect there?
As city manager said, you know, it did have tax increase in it, and even though there wouldn't be any direct tax increase to any resident of Beaumont unless they were staying in a Beaumont hotel, you know, I think there is certainly some negativity and distrust. I mean, here we are, as we sit here today, our federal government shut down. So there are challenges across our country with trust in government and people working together. And I think as long as there's distrust, you're always going to have those challenges. And certainly as the mayor, as city manager, we work to build those trusts. We work to build those lines. And so what I see is that is our continued job to do that. And I don't get discouraged. I just say, what am I going to learn from this and move forward? So again, we got a $58 million bond passed, and we have learned a lot from this.
Mm-hmm. And I think it speaks volumes having you both here the morning after to talk to these issues as the city leaders and the strong city leaders that you both are. What are the next steps then? People say, okay, now we passed Prop A. What are the next steps, and how do we follow the process as citizens to see that these projects are accomplished? Because that was some of the things that I saw. Well, if we pass infrastructure, let's see what the city does with it. Let's see if they can be responsible with our dollars, and then maybe we'll do another bond election and pass more things. So how do we show that transparency through the process?
Well, earlier I didn't indicate that we were going to have another bond election soon, so just make sure. You know, now a lot of the work starts with the Proposition A, with the infrastructure. You know, citizens have spoken, and they've approved $58 million for the city to do these projects. So we'll be having a staff meeting. I haven't had a chance to meet with staff yet to discuss that and the next steps. I'll get finance people in the room. I'll get our engineering staff in the room, and we'll begin and get our financial advisors in the room, and we'll have discussions on how we're going to proceed from here. Because engineers got to set up and start putting plans together to get these projects executed. They'll have to get with other engineers and designers and people and come up with more plans where we get more definitive dollars, where we can identify more to the point of dollars. We'll be talking with our finance people to talk about how those dollars are going to flow. You know, we won't issue all that. We won't issue $58 million next week. As those projects are identified and we have the dollars and get ready to bid them out, then we will issue those dollars. So the city won't be paying any interest or paying any dollars on money that we don't need at that time. We will issue that debt as needed for that particular project, which in this case, these projects will probably take several years to complete because you can't do them all at one time. Usually you can't find enough contractors and the people to do it, so it's done over a period of time. So it's about timing. You know, we'll be defining the timing of these projects, how they're going to be done, the financing, to make sure we optimize the best use of those dollars as we put them out there. And we might find out we might not need the entire $58 million, which is often you find you don't need all those dollars. And if we don't, the city won't issue that debt. So that'll be even less on the taxpayer. And so we have our work to do with that.
Okay. And we, of course, will be following throughout the process and giving updates as some of these projects get going. So.
And I do want to remind that the City Council, we did pass a bond facilitation committee, and now we will be putting together the guidelines that they'll be operating under. And, you know, this is independent citizens of Beaumont that will have oversight over the bond. And again, you know, I have complete confidence in our city administration, but it's just adding another level of transparency, and they're going to be able to really dive as deep as they would like to. I mean, these are volunteers. This isn't a full-time job for them, but they can certainly see what they would like to, and any expenditures will go before council, and that'll be voted on. So I think people will be pleased with the process and the transparency that exists.
Okay, in just a moment, I want to ask you about how you unite the council so that everybody on council feels like we're on the same page. We're going to get to that in a moment, but first, we're going to take a quick pause in the conversation for another quick announcement. The city is ready to launch our new AI chatbot called Ask Beau on beaumonttexas.gov. Check out this explainer video. Hello everybody, I'm Tracy Kenneth, the Director of Communications for the City of Beaumont, and I'm excited to introduce you to a brand new way to connect with the city anytime, anywhere. It's our new CityBot. It's a virtual assistant, and it now lives right here on the City of Beaumont's website. We know that sometimes you have questions outside of business hours, or you just want quick answers without having to make a call, and that's where the CityBot comes in. It's designed to answer your questions 24/7, guide you to the right department, and even translate into 70 different languages, so more members of our community can get the information they need. Let me show you how it works. Right here on our homepage, you'll see this chat icon. Just click it, type in your question, and the chatbot will give you answers. So for example, if I want to attend a city council meeting, I can go in and ask it, when is the next city council meeting? And it will think for a little bit, and then it will come up and show me the date, the time, and the place of the upcoming city council meeting. And then it will ask you, is there anything else I can help you with? It can also give you ideas of different events happening around town. So I can say, what is happening around town? And it will give me lots of different options about events and activities, festivals, anything that's happening within the city that's uploaded to our website. It's like having a helpful city staff member right at your fingertips, ready to guide you at any time. The best part is, the CityBot is always improving, so the more you use it, the smarter it becomes. It's here to save you time, make city services more accessible, and give you quick answers whenever you need them, day or night. So the next time you visit our website, beaumonttexas.gov, give it a try. We're proud to bring this new tool to Beaumont, and we think you'll find it helpful for everything from reporting issues to exploring what's going on in our community. Thank you, and the city looks forward to serving you better. Our go live date is next Tuesday, so be sure to ask Bo and let us know what you think about the new City Help Tool. And as always, you can stream this show and past episodes of the Beaumont Beat on multiple platforms, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and anywhere else that you listen to podcasts. We'd love for you to subscribe to our channels, like this episode, and share it with others so they too can enjoy it. We're always looking for new topics too, so drop us a comment to let us know what you'd like to see in future episodes. Now back to our conversation with the city manager and mayor of Beaumont to talk about the recent bond election. And I want to get first off to the council. And how do you, as city leaders, as you sit up there and you have council members from different wards with different agendas, is it possible to get them all on the same page? Because we did see some divisiveness, and some things posted, and then post-election, a few council members saying, well, it wasn't my idea or it wasn't my direction. Is it possible? And do you think that that maybe hurt this election?
Well, I want to first say that my wife and I don't always agree. So I don't have an expectation that we're going to all agree all the time. Mm-hmm. And I do remember on August 18th is when we as a council voted to do this bond. And we had 6 of our 7 council people, and certainly myself included, voted for this bond. So that's pretty strong unity, 6 of 7 on August 18th. But, at this point, I certainly recognize that our council, 4 of our new council people were elected in May. And they came in midstream in this bond process. And it is a lot to take in. I've had the privilege of being here a little over 2 years, and I can tell you, I learn things every day. Mm-hmm. So I can respect that they've learned a lot, and they want to serve their constituents as best they can. And I think the more time we spend together, the more time they work together, the more time they spend with our administration and work with them. I think that will help build unity and trust, because we are all here for the same purpose. And we were all elected to serve the residents of Beaumont.
Sure. And I know, City Manager, this was not the first bond election for you as a city manager, as you've done it in other cities. Was it similar, or were there differences in this go round in the city of Beaumont?
Well, every city is different. Every community is different. So, they have things that influence them, their environment, etc. So, Beaumont's different than Buda was in an election. It's different than Lufkin was at a bond election, because there are different motivators and things in place there. So you have to realize that each community is unique, and work with that uniqueness and identify what's important to that community, which is sometimes difficult. We have to look for, a lot of times, as a city manager or management, to get that feedback from city council and from citizens. City manager's job is to execute the ideas or wishes of council. Council has to govern itself. The city manager doesn't do that, but I work with every person on that council to get things done for sure, and get them to work as cohesive as possible. But cities are different. It's not the same every time and everywhere you go. It's easier in cities where they've done it before and they see how that work, and you're able to go and you do it, and you built a new municipal facility, and you built a new police station. You actually built new streets. We built new parks and amphitheaters through bond election. You see the success of it and see that how well it works. So it helps to be able to have seen that. So that in that respect, that a community views it different, because we've done it before. It worked. It was executed like we planned it. Even came in under budget. So that's going to be viewed differently as a city who hasn't done it.
Yeah. Okay. And this go round, we did learn a lot. And I saw some comments on social media, people saying, take this now, City of Beaumont, and see this is what the citizens wanted, and use it going forward. And we do have to say, though, we did have the bond facilitation committee, or the bond committee, that helped to get citizen input, right? And then to form what they thought were the good projects that then went to the council, who represents the citizens, and then they made the packages or the different propositions. How else can we do it to, I guess, maybe reflect exactly what the citizens are wanting? Because I've heard some people say this wasn't what we wanted and the way they were lumped together or different things, but that was a kind of a consensus of the council on how they were grouped together, that then got the information from the committee, that then got the information from citizens. So what could we change going forward?
Well, that's why keep saying that's why I think the process worked the way it was supposed to. It enabled us to get the feedback from the community that we needed on what they want to see in such a process and a bond proposition. Now, City Council has an idea of what's important to our citizens and what they're likely to support out there. So there was transparency, total transparency, and that's how it works. It's the decision by the citizens, it's a decision by the community. There's a bond advisory committee to oversee the Proposition 8 that did pass. What things what we could maybe do, improve on. I think maybe have fewer items on the proposition based upon what I see from voters. I think there might have been just too many items for them to consider, especially if they hadn't done it before. So they wanted to be able to feel better about the process, and maybe this will help them feel better about the process next time and say, okay, well, I'm willing to try a little bit more. But that's just one thing. Again, I think it worked the way it was supposed to work, but there are things we can just improve on.
Yeah.
Well, and I think what city manager said, I agree with 100%. We did now pass Proposition A, $58 million. They get to see the city to execute it. And, for now, they've been talking for the last several months about that concern that we can execute it like that. Well, when the city does, I think that will give people confidence, and that will take away that discussion point. So, and again, as alluded to, the number of propositions. I know this time watching the proposition, because watching the bond advisory committee was that, we weren't actively as a council involved. We watched. I think people got excited because all of a sudden we're talking about all these possibilities,
right,
in a lot of different groups.
Right.
We had 17 on the bond advisory committee, but we had open houses and we had groups that said, hey, we want to be a part of this. So, there's a lot of that too. This wasn't, so it does get framed as if this is exactly what council wanted to do. But as I recall from the process, there was a tremendous amount of our resident input in our Citizens Advisory Committee and certainly our council. So, but I think getting one done and having success with it will speak volumes.
Yeah, and I think that maybe that is a big challenge as city leaders, because you do want to see your community grow, right? And people are saying, well, people aren't coming to Beaumont because there's not enough to do, or X, Y, Z. And so you say, okay, well, these are opportunities. These are ways to improve some of the facilities, some of the things that people would want to see if they moved into the area. But then which comes first? You have to spend the money to get these things, but then if you do, then people don't want their tax dollars to go up. And so it's got to be a difficult thing for you as leaders if you want these great things in your city, but then how else do you get them, right?
Right.
So,
well, and ironically, on August 19th and 20th, right after the election, the most calls I got about is why wasn't Dallin Road Extension on there, which wasn't about having too many things. It was about why we didn't have another $58 million on there. So, but I think the fact that we pass the infrastructure and they will get to see how the city executes that and the efficiency of it, I think that will offer, that in itself will speak volumes.
Okay, final message to the citizens following this election.
The process worked the way it was supposed to. The citizens got to decide, we get that and we execute what's identified there. City got the feedback they needed in that process too. We know going forward, we know we're going to be held accountable with Proposition A, and so we have to make sure that's done properly and correctly, and we're good stewards of citizens' dollars. Make sure those projects come in as identified, etc. So it's good experience for the city of Beaumont. I think it's going to serve this city well into the future. Right now, I don't think people see that, but I think they're going to see this event, this very event, is one of the things that's going to take this city into the future, because they've been exposed to something that's different, that's going to give them some resources to take Beaumont to another level.
And it's going to make big difference for a lot of people when it comes to hurricanes and flooding and sidewalks in front of their schools and better roads for them to travel on. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, and we didn't say much about quality of life, but there's sidewalks. There's things for pedestrian, mobility in there. It's going to be a sidewalk, comprehensive study, then more put in. Where I hear all the time people like, I can't walk in my community, I have to walk in the street. So there are some things like that in there too.
Yeah. Final comments.
Well, I know that I'm grateful for the 11,000 citizens that voted here in Beaumont. I believe we have 81,000 registered voters, and the voters spoke. And I like, as Mr. Williams has said, I agree that the process has worked, and I think we will be better for it. And I'm excited about the infrastructure projects and moving forward and moving this city forward.
All right. Thank you both for being here and for all of your comments for what you do for the city. You sacrifice a lot of time. I know that. So appreciate you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
We'd like to remind you about the new Mayor's Veterans Coalition. This month's meeting will be on November 18th at 10 a.m. at Central Park Community Center. This meeting will be held every third Tuesday of the month, and it serves as a bridge between the community and city leadership. City offices will be closed in observance of Veterans Day, November 11th, and we want to thank all those who have served our country. We'd love to have you join us for the next episode of the Beaumont Beat. We'll be talking with the Beaumont Fire Department about their Fire Buddies program and how you can help them spread some joy to critically ill children in our community. For now, though, I'm Tracy Kenneth. Thanks so much for tuning in to the Beaumont Beat, where we move with the heartbeat of the city. We'll see you next time.